physically, what's your physical prime? Probably 18, 20, but they reckon I think a good age for a fighter, and especially as a heavyweight, as we mature physically a little bit later, I reckon about 30 is about prime time for a heavyweight. I think it's a bit longer. I think the lighter you are, the earlier, the younger you can peak because you've been that size a little bit longer. More bro science on my behalf, but if you're not well and truly established by your mid-20s, I think you've probably left it a little bit too late. And that's what I did with my MMA career. I made the switch when I was 33. I wanted to make the switch when I was 27, but my management team talked me out of it. And, I'll live with that, and then that's fine. I'm at peace with it. But, especially the UFC, they always push the narrative of we want young guys with the ambition to be a world champion. We don't want old, tough guys that can put on exciting fights. That's more for like Bellator and other things like that. The UFC's narrative is always we want young guys wanting to be world champions. And I think when I tried out for the Ultimate Fighter, they weren't even really paying attention. It was a really weird experience. I think they just saw my age on a piece of paper and they just nah, this guy's too old. And they just looked at the guys that were in their 20s and just selected them instead.
What year was the Ultimate Fighter?
2019. I tried out for Tough 28. That,
okay.
The big Spanish dude one that Ben Sassoli was on. Ben Sassoli and I were over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a weird thing. Like, it wasn't even I wanted to fight to get into the house. Let's just have a fight. And then they said, we're going to get you to hit pads in front of some UFC selectors. And Mick Maynard was there. And then it was, you're just going to have a grapple with someone. And so they partnered me up with this 145 kilo guy who had to get to 120 kilos if he was to make the show that started 6 weeks later. And we just had a bit of a wrestle. And, mate, I'm not a wrestler. All my wrestling is defensive wrestling so I can get back on my feet and strike. That's my bread and butter. And so I kept escaping all these positions, but the optics was that he was just put me in a position, I escape. He put me in a position, I escape.
Yeah, you weren't attacking. You were on the back.
No, I'm not going to attack anyone. Everything I ever did was defensive wrestling and defensive jiu-jitsu to get back on my feet. I didn't want to sub anyone. I wanted to knock people out, man. I've been striking professionally for 15 years.
Oh, 100%.
So the whole thing was just a bit ugly. But again, they just look at the thing like 33, this guy's too old to invest in. Let's look at the guys that are less than 25. And I think it was as simple as that.
Wow.
Yeah.
The overall experience though for the tryout, did they just have you, as you said, just hitting pads and just grapple with the guy?
We didn't even hit pads. They just did the grappling thing, and they just told us on the day. Honestly, it was a bit of a shit show. It was really poorly done, and there was 100 people there, and they'd already had their minds made up of who they wanted on the show. I'm convinced of it. They weren't even playing. Mick Maynard was there, sort of playing on his phone, and it was just a really. I think it was just more of a formality to make it look like they were, giving us an opportunity to try out when they'd already had their mind up who they wanted to be on the show.
Did you get selected to try out, or was it just
no? My town got together. We set up a GoFundMe, and had a whole bunch of people in Canberra that donated money to get me over to Vegas. That was awesome. The community support that I had was beautiful. And I got over there, and then that happened. It was just really disappointing. Yeah.
That's heartbreaking, man, because I feel like even then, to go through all of that and to have people back you and as I can see why you'd have a little bit of a sour taste after the experience.
Yeah. I'd rather them just say, look, we're not, we think you're too old to invest in. We're looking at guys under 25. We're not going to select you, rather than wasting the hundreds of people that donated money to get me over there, wasting their money.
100%. Even then, that probably would have been even then, to get yourself over there and to pay that, they should have at least looked at it and gone, well, fuck, this guy's obviously hungry because he's paying X amount of thousands of dollars to get over here. He's got people that are backing him. So let's have, you know what I mean?
At least just watch.
I look at it would be take fighting out, but a business sense would be okay, this guy really wants this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you look at my resume, you got Australian heavyweight boxing champion, K1, and Glory. There's a storyline there. I'm going to be bringing. I was going to be bringing an audience from Fight Sports. So, but anyway, 100%. I'm at peace with it. It's all good.
Oh,
man, I still got my marbles. I think.
Yeah, lost, man. But like after that, did that leave a sour taste in your mouth regarding the sport? Like, did you feel that way that it was age related straight away? Like,
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I just sitting there in the hotel room afterwards, and I felt pretty deflated. Actually, that was 2018. The tryouts were sorry, but no, I still had two more fights after that, and I was all in, and had one more fight in Canberra, and then I had the PFL fight after that, and then then I was done. And you know what? Maybe if I made the UFC, I might have been done two more fights anyway. So maybe they made the right call by not putting me on, because I did retire two fights later. But maybe if I was in the UFC on the bigger platform, I think a big part of it was I'd been throwing money at this passion of mine for 15 years. Like I would have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on training and travel and all of the above over the years. And I just thought I couldn't. It just wasn't a logical decision to make anymore. Like I've got to stop throwing money at this. I have another source of income. I have a job that I love, and I have, a job that's very rewarding, and I get a lot of the same positive feedback,
yeah,
things that I used to get from fighting. So it actually worked out well. But it would have been interesting to see. I think if I would have made the UFC, I'd probably still be going.